beside the valley that we were flying in, on paper, was another valley that was there. So we just made the call. Okay, let's turn the plane around. Let's check out this valley. And we came into this valley, and this valley was so beautiful. There was a waterfall on the right-hand side that was misting with the rainbow.
It's almost inviting you.
Yeah.
Like, come.
Like, come. Like, check it. Wow. And at first, honestly, when we first came into it, it was beautiful. But then came the moment my friend realized as we came into this valley, it narrowed really quickly. And right away, he became really afraid. The tension in that plane was just, like, palpable. In that moment, dude, everything in my body and everything in my mind believed I was going to die. This was the end of my life. So Heavenly Father, I thank you for this moment. I thank you for the people who are going to listen and watch. And I pray that there would be hope and love and even clarity felt. And so, Father, I pray for the technology. I pray for our minds. And I pray that as we just talk and dive deep, Lord, that you would interweave an incredible, inspiring conversation. Want to pray?
No, that's good.
Amen.
I can't top that. Amen.
Amen.
I can't top that.
Amen. Well, like I said, even just for my sake, because I always find just inviting God's presence into anything always helps, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a really nice message to start off. Rahul, welcome back.
Welcome.
We got a new setup.
Yeah.
I got a new setup, got a light skirt, got a couple of pictures, did some stuff over there. But main reason we're here today is to speak with Dave Johnson.
Wow. I just feel so
to the show.
honored to get to be a part of this. This is incredible. And you're right. Look at this setup you guys have. This is legit. Wow. Amazing.
The best for the best.
Yeah, come
right?
on, man. I believe that too.
Thanks for the prayer. I think it's important to invite God, have spirituality right off the bat. You have a journey that you're going to share with us today, and our listeners. I'm very curious. That's why I wanted to have you on. But first off, I just want to give a little bit of a background. You're a pro skater. You volunteer with the youth. You're a speaker, motivational speaker. The list goes on. But obviously, the life that you're leading now is completely different. And it was a moment in time that hit you that was completely unexpected. So let's just get right into it. You are a plane crash survivor.
Yeah. If you were to tell me that, like before it happened, that I would have survived a plane crash, I wouldn't have believed you. And you're absolutely right. It did change my life. It was one of those moments that made me turn a corner. And we probably have all had those experiences, right? Something traumatic or something completely unexpected, and it makes you do a U-turn. And so that was definitely that moment in my life. And you're right. So now I get the opportunity to share that story with youth and young adults and with businesses and organizations. Even municipalities have had me come and impart whatever I have with their staff, right? And so I just count it, like, honestly, such an honor to be a voice into some people's lives. And, you know, you wonder sometimes whether a speaker has an impact on a person's life. You know, you come in and you share time with them for an hour and a half, you share your story. But I know I've had moments where people have spoken things into my life. And, you know, I think life is almost like a brick wall that we need a lot of bricks in order to build something magnificent. And if I can be a small brick in a person's life, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You know?
So let's start from the beginning. How did you end up in a plane that went down? And then what happened? You got airlifted. Tell us in detail.
Okay, so in detail is that I graduated and actually went back to my homeland, which is Reykjavik, Iceland.
And this is high school?
Yeah, after high school. Yeah, that's right. And it was there that I met a great group of friends through skateboarding. And I got sponsored for the first time. And we filmed a lot of skateboarding and created a video that kind of went semi-viral before Facebook. You know, we literally had the CDs, the DVDs, and passing them out and stuff like that. It was like 2006, right? So before, you know.
They're like videos.
Videos, you know what I mean? It was called
like
a brotne tale, which means on a broken tail, like you're riding on a broken tail.
Right.
And anyways, I became really close buddies with the guy who was kind of making the film. His name was Guðni Rúnar Kristinsson. So he has some interesting names for sure in Iceland. Yeah. And we just call him G for short. And he was an incredible guy, an incredible man. He was the oldest of 5 brothers and an older sister. He came from a big family, but he was still a leader. You know, I recall moments where we were hanging out as friends and we were kind of getting rowdy and kind of dumb and in a gentle way, he would always just kind of like lead the group in a really cool way, you know? So he actually got his pilot's license in Iceland at the age of like 22 or maybe 21. And he decided that he was going to go to Pitt Meadows. So that's kind of an interesting story. He was just on the internet, happened to, get an ad or something like that from like a Pitt Meadows airport. And then he realized that the prices there versus the prices in Iceland, it would be worthwhile for him to go to Canada and to train, because it was going to be about the same price. He could get a trip out of it,
Yeah.
So he's like, hey, Dave, have you heard of this place called like Pitt Meadows? And I was like, dude, this is like down the street from where I used to live, right?
Yeah.
And so we decided May of that year to come back to Canada. And we spent the whole summer together, and it was actually on the very last day of his trip here in Canada, I had decided to stay, that we decided to fly up to Squamish. So the reason why the destination was Squamish is we had hiked the Chief. I don't know if you ever hiked the Chief before, but in Vancouver, it's a very popular hike, right?
It's an awesome hike too.
It's incredible. The view, it's so rewarding, And Gwynne loved that hike. We had done it twice that summer, and his last day, he's like, dude, if I can fly above the Chief, that would be an epic end to the trip. So I like, let's do it, So we flew over the Tri-Cities into the Indian Arm, which is, for those Vancouverites, they'll know it's between Belcarra and Deep Cove. It's that body of water that goes, And then the water ends and the valley continues, and the valley actually goes all the way up to Lake Squamish. And so it's kind of a popular pathway if you're flying that way to go through the valley, as long as the skies are clear. If you get cloud cover, like, you don't want to go that way. You got to go all the way around, right? So we were flying on August 18th. It was a beautiful sunny day. A few clouds here and there, but he felt it was safe to go. And as we were flying in the valley, there's 4 of us on board, we began to see some clouds up ahead. And right away, he made the right call, which is like, hey, let's turn the plane around. And so we turned the plane around, and at that point, we should have called it a day. We should have just been like, hey, you know what? It's been a great summer. This is our 32nd flight in 3 months. Let's just call it a day. But we didn't. Instead, I think the young ambition and the hope to get to the Chief was so vibrant that we were like, okay, let's open up the map. So we opened up the map, and beside the valley that we were flying in, on paper, was another valley that was there. So we just made the call. Okay, let's turn the plane around. Let's check out this valley. And we came into this valley, and this valley was so beautiful. There was a waterfall on the right-hand side that was misting with the rainbow.
Oh, wow.
And so it was tempting, bro. It was like, whoa, look at this, bro. It was like, wow.
Yeah, it's almost inviting you.
Yeah.
Like, come.
Check it. Wow. And at first, honestly, when we first came into it, it was beautiful. But then came the moment my friend realized as we came into this valley, it narrowed really quickly. And right away, he became really afraid. And here's why. Because if you get caught in that valley, you have to either pull on the controls and try and get above the mountains as quickly as possible. And you better hope that there isn't any downdraft. Because if you're fighting wind, you're not getting out of there. Or you try and attempt to turn the plane around. But in order to do that, you got to try and elevate and come around,
Gotta
right?
go wide. Yep.
You got to do a wide turn. So my buddy started pulling on the controls to try and get the plane above and sure enough, there was downdraft, bro. So the wind is coming this way. And the plane isn't like he's pulling, and it's not getting
Going
the
up.
lift that it needs, you see. And so then I could see his hands shaking, bro. Like it was, and Leah and Elliot, like the tension in that plane was just like palpable. And then my buddy starts to try and turn the plane around as a secondary option. And so he begins to take the turn. And then I'd say probably about 40% of the way into the turn, the plane stalls. And so if you're flying at a decent height and you stall a plane, just like a standard car, you re-engage the engine, and the engine, starts again. But if you are at an elevation that's lower, it's much harder to get the engine started again and to correct yourself, especially if there's trees. And so my buddy began to try and get the plane to restart, and it wouldn't start. And then before we knew it, we started hearing the tips of the trees, man, hitting the wings. And my last and final memory was hearing Gwynne shout, "We're going down." And in that moment, dude, everything in my body and everything in my mind believed I was going to die. This was the end of my life. And one thing I do share is that at my last and final moment was a deep sense of regret of how I treated my family. See, my parents had gotten divorced in grade 12. It was a tough season for our family. And I had gone to Iceland, kind of run away from my problems, come back. And my last moment is regret. And I don't often talk about this at school because it's like really deep. Like it'll make you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what will your last thought on the earth be? Will it be surrounded by family? With not pride, but thankfulness of at least you did your best? Or will you feel what I felt, which was like this regretful feeling? And really, I'm on a journey now that I have a second chance at life, is like, I'm going to do the best I can with the time I got, and the generation I'm born, to lead a life that, again, not that I'm proud of, but rather I'm thankful and have an incredible gratitude of. And then in some sense I can say, hey, you know what? I did my best. But my last moment was regret. And then boom, we crashed going 125 kilometers an hour. And I'm unconscious for 20 minutes. In that time period, Elliot is able to get out of the seatbelt. Leah has a broken arm, broken nose, and he's able to get the door open. But as he said, it was hard. The door wouldn't open. He had to because the handlebar's here. My body's in front of the handlebar, or with the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to grab it, but the metal was all bent and stuff, and it was jammed. Mm-hmm. And then he's able to finally kick it open, get Leah out of the plane. The gasoline everywhere, glass everywhere. Mm-hmm. What saved us was that we crashed into a massive tree that was just covered in rain. Rocks on either side. I mean, it's a miracle. Mm-hmm. We crashed right into this dead tree, which is another thing to think about. Like here, a seed landed. It was a big one, right. Hundreds of years ago, through a tree. It fell, and that was our saving grace. So he gets out, and he gets onto the tree, carries Leah for about 100 feet. And then Elliot looks back, and here's this moment. I mean, he's covered in gasoline, incredibly dangerous situation, and he decides that he's going to come back. And, I asked him one time over lunch, I said, Elliot, you can be honest with me. Did you take a minute to think about it? Mm-hmm. He said, no, I just went. Mm-hmm. And I think it's it's an example of during great crisis, the human spirit is able to be so selfless and to love in means that I think in normal times maybe it wouldn't. Crisis calls us to deeper levels, right? Mm-hmm. Here he comes back for me, you know what I mean? When he himself and his girlfriend were safe. And so he says he comes back and he's yelling my name, Dave. There's just nothing. And Dave, nothing. He starts taking and shaking, He's having to take moments where he needs to step away from the plane because of the gasoline. Mm-hmm. And finally he takes his hand and he smacks me as hard as he could over my face. And I'm not suggesting this is good first aid, but it worked. Okay, so boom, lights on. And my first words were, my seatbelt, Elliot, my seatbelt. Because so when they were getting out on my side. So I was all, squished.
Right.
And all the anchors in the seat, dust. Seat come forward, snap my leg in half. My leg is broken in half, tucked underneath the seat. So when I put my leg out like this, boom, came up, and the leg jammed underneath. So I'm able to he's able to get the seatbelt off. I'm able to breathe again. Mm. And all I see is bark from the tree, glass, and I have glass sticking in my face that I'm having to take out, pull out. And then I look to my left, and there's my best friend, and he's in his moments. He's either already passed or he's in his moments of passing. And that was a traumatic thing to see someone who you were just celebrating life with and doing talking, laughing,
you're talking
farting around.
You're talking about G here?
Yeah, I'm talking about G. And moments before, and then here his journey here on earth is done, and he's off to a better place. That is a crazy thing to think about, But that was a very traumatic moment to see a buddy of mine like have to go through that, you know. But then when Glenn, I knew Glenn was like either passing or had passed. Then something in me was like, this is not the end. Like, this is not the last chapter of my book here. Like, my life. Like, please, 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 please. But I was pinned to the plane, dude. So my leg was all wrapped up underneath my seat. And so Elliot needed to like push on the seat, and I needed to, with everything that I had, yank on my leg, dude. And it was brutal because inside your femur is, I mean, it's a broken bone, right? It's sharp. And beside your femur is the largest artery in your body. And what can sometimes happen is people make the same mistake I do, which is to do that, and then they cut their artery, and you bleed out very quickly, like 5 minutes.
Right.
But by the grace of God, boom, I was able to get my leg out from underneath the seat. And I got onto Elliot's back, and, you know, I started shouting, "Come on, Elliot, you used to bench 150 pounds. I used to work out with Elliot. You know what I mean? When it's like, you know, grade 9, 10, it's like you don't have the testosterone. It's almost pointless to work out. It's like, why are you working out? Just wait till you hit puberty, kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. I used to work out with Elliot, you know? And we used to, you know, shout each other down. You know what I mean? Come on, man. And so here in this forest in the middle of Squamish, no reception, nothing. And he's saving my life, and I'm encouraging him, man. I'm just like pumping his tires, like, come on, dude.
Right.
And then Elliot carries me to where Leah was, and he puts me down. And then I'm able to look back, and I see the plane, and I see, like, I kind of start to come to a bit. And we were there for 6 hours. Wow. They were like 5.5 hours or something. And waiting for search and rescue. And I don't know if you were to ask me what was more scary, the plane crash, like falling to the ground, or laying down in a dark valley, waiting to not knowing whether you're going to live or die. And I mean, that was a pretty crazy moment, you know? And, you know, it's in the depths of the valley where I think you're reborn, where the urgency of life and the necessity of a heartbeat motivates you just to go, okay, like, if I get another chance, I'm living it differently, you know? And whether that's a conversation with yourself or also with God, that's what I had. Was I feel like in that valley, I had a conversation with myself and with the divine. And I made it my mission to live my life differently. And I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know specifically, but I knew that the trajectory of my life had changed, that I'm going this way, and all of a sudden, boom. Sometimes we need that in life. You know, crisis comes to disturb tradition, the cycle, the tradition. Crisis comes, boom, it disturbs it. And we either adapt or we innovate, which is actually to create something new, not to create something that you've always done. And so what I often say to people is don't curse the crisis. The crisis has come to serve you. It's actually a tool for you to not be repelled, but propelled into the next level of life. And that's what that was, man. And so anyways, 6 hours, man, and it was pretty crazy. But I tell you, when I heard the choppers and search and rescue, and I saw that basket come down, and this guy, you know, just like in the movies, you know,
right.
Orange suits. His name was Brian. I still remember his name.
Right.
His first words to me were, "You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay." And in that moment, I knew I was going to be okay.
Right.
You know, it's going to be all right. And I got into that basket, and they zipped me up. I remember there was just like a little hole for your eyes. And I remember seeing the chopper, and then, the cord, and just like, I remember coming closer and closer to the chopper. I remember feeling such conflicted feelings of being excited to leave. Right. But also they had to, because I was in critical condition, they had to leave Glenn there overnight until the following day to extradite him. So honestly, like that like chopper away was like, wow, what just happened? And I pass out, and I come to, and Royal Columbian Hospital. I didn't know this. They have this massive garage, like I'm talking huge, and like where that fits like a part, like almost like an underground parking lot kind of thing, massive. All these ambulances and stuff like that. I come to, boom, and I'm like there, nurses, doctors, you know. Sorry. The reason why I tear up is because in my mind's eye, I just remember seeing my family for the first time. My dad, my sister, and hearing my mom was flying like right away. That I was just so impacted, man. And I realized something. Is that no matter what happens, family is like literally the most important thing. That and God. Family and God. And sometimes it takes incredible traumas in your life to rearrange your priorities. Because fundamentally, all of the choices we make, all the habits we have, fundamentally come down to our priorities, our values, what we care about. And sometimes we need those crises to rearrange the priorities and the values so that they're actually ordered according to God's design, I believe, you know, fundamentally. Because sometimes we can put things in front of family, put things in front of friends, whether that's materialism or even social media and those kind of things. And so I saw my sister and I saw my dad, and honestly, it was like, I just knew that my life would be different. And then the doctors told me that they had this new kind of surgery for femurs. They used to put the bar, like, I think on the outside of the femur, but they've actually started like dislocating the hip and then actually putting the rod inside the femur. And they're like, hey, it's been a proven surgery. Like, would you sign here if you want to do that? We'll do either one, but this is, we believe it's going to be better. So I'm like, okay. So anyways, they dislocate my hip, throw a rod in there, and then a couple screws in the hip and then the knee. And I was in that hospital in a wheelchair for like 12 days. And man, the human body, when it goes from 0 to 125, I didn't know this, but the trauma and the bruising, I was purple from my nips down. Yeah. Like straight up, I was purple, and then I was like yellow and then normal skin, but all of the dead blood just went down. Do you know what I mean? To the doctor, I'm like, is everything gonna be all right? They're like, yeah, just hold on. It's gonna be a few weeks, right? But it was just a crazy, crazy time period where I was really injured, really broken, but family and friends, they surrounded me. I had so many friends who came around, brought skate magazines, and surrounded by snacks and flowers and stuff. And one of the things I share, actually, is that there was one nurse who said something that I think, well, it would frame how I saw the plane crash. I would leave that hospital having a different frame, a different mindset. And I've shared this story literally all over the world. So she came up. It was a nurse that I'd kind of gotten acquainted with because I'd seen her for like 12 days. And I'd talked to her about the plane crash, and her son, I think, used to skateboard or something. And she says to me out of kind of nowhere, it's like 8 p.m., and the sun is setting, and she's in there. And she points at one of the flowers, and she says, Dave, you know what kind of flower this is? No idea. She says, it's a lily. I was like, oh, yeah, okay, a lily. Yeah, I know lilies. She says, no, but this kind of lily is a different. It's actually, I think this is a New Zealand lily. I was like, what are you talking about? So she starts talking about how this specific lily grows. She looks at me and she says, you know how long it takes for this lily to grow? I was like, I have no idea. Please tell me. I'm bored. I've got nothing else to do. She says, this type of a lily seed needs to be planted in the fall, not in the spring. Because the seed actually needs the cold, hard winter to come to fruition in the spring. But get this, when it does, it only grows to about like an inch, maybe an inch and a half, 2 inches. Like you'd look at that thing and you wouldn't think it was a lily. Yeah. And then it dies. The flower, kaposh, dead. But the roots hibernate in the ground for another cold, hard winter. And then it sprouts, boom, in the spring again. This time around, it grows to maybe 6 inches, maybe a little leaf, Right. And then it dies. And then it sprouts again. This time a little, couple of branches or something, It still doesn't blossom a lily. She says, Dave, it takes 7 years. Think about it. First year, second year, third, fourth, fifth. If you're a New Zealand lily farmer, 6 years and people go, gosh,
you're still doing it?
What are you doing, man? Move on.
What kind of investment is this?
We'll move on. Oh, but it's the most expensive flower.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that in life, it's cyclical.
Right.
And it goes through its seasons. Look at BC. We have seasons, right? Life has seasons. And how you are, a steak is seasoned and it's more tasty, right? Mm-hmm. Every single cycle we become seasoned. We become more rich, actually. Mm-hmm. The wealthiest people in the world, they may have lots of money, but gosh, they're poor because all they got is money. Mm-hmm. You know what makes you rich in life? Experience. Pain, actually, refines you. This gold ring right here is literally valued something because it's been through fire and pressure. Mm-hmm. It's been refined. It has gone through the process of refinement, right? Of testing. Mm-hmm. Something is attested. It's an attested 14-karat gold. It means that it's been tested. It's been through the fire. And so a lily, think about this, has to be planted in the fall, hibernates through dark, cold, grows. And then finally in the 7th year, it has long enough roots to resource enough water and energy to grow a strong enough stem to finally blossom the flower that it was always created to be. And I think the same is true of you and me, that we are on this journey that we call life, and we go through winters and we go through summers. And if we keep that perspective, I think it's helpful when we are in that winter, when the pain is great. And so when she shared that was one of those deposits, and I talked about, can a speaker create an impact on a person's life? Hey, here's this woman, and in conversation, a hug, sometimes a smile even can change our disposition. Well, she did in that moment, because I exited the hospital just having a resolve that, is life going to be hard? Yeah, it is. But my pain has a purpose. I'm being refined. And I've had many winters since then, by the way. And I'm sure you've gone through winters since 2007 as well. We all do. And so, and then a couple years after the plane crash, I had a principal here that had this story, and he says, Dave, if you put something together, we'll have you come to the school. And so that's how I got into motivational speaking. Yeah, wow. So that's kind of the story. Yeah, it was 2 years of recovery. It's probably about 8 or 9 months when my physiotherapist, Pat, was like, Dave, you can pick up your board and you can ride, Right. And I still remember leaving his office, his physio office, and putting the skateboard down on just the parking lot. And when I got on that board, just felt that life came back into me. You know what I mean? I felt vision again. I felt like putting on an old pair of shoes that just fit perfect. And it was time to rock, Now, could I even ollie? No. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything. But it took like a long period of time to get to any level of being able to skate. But then when it came, it came,
back quick.
And now I'm still skating. In fact, I'm skating on the circuit of like competitions and stuff like that at a professional level. But yeah, that's the plane crash story. And I'm not apologizing for getting emotional, but yeah, I got emotional there for a moment, and thanks for giving me the grace in that moment to feel the feelings that I was feeling.